Roll, roll. What's the matter? Your shoulder's broken, sir. There we go. Okay, shoulder. And now add the sound like this. Desire. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Tell your partner how well he did that.
So, hello viewers. Today I'm in conversation with Mr. Ron Kaufman, sir, who is known to be a world's #1 customer experience mentor leader. So, I'm actually very excited to learn something today with Mr. Ron, sir. And I hope that you, as an aspiring leader, entrepreneur, book readers, and all viewers can learn something very insightful and practical from the legends with whom I'm discussing today. So, thank you so much, first of all, Ron, sir, for taking out your precious time to join us.
Well, Ronak, let me return the compliment, because someone like you who creates a podcast, a video interview like this, obviously what you care about is also helping other people. So we actually have a lot in common.
So it is, and actually, sir, you are very humble. I have seen your videos. The way you speak, the kind of humbleness is demonstrated automatically. I mean, so what are the secret behind your public speaking, your own experience of public speaking tips? So would you like to share some tips for our leaders? Right?
Public speaking tips. Well, first of all, let me say that the idea of tips is not going to get you to public speaking success. So if what you're really interested in is public speaking, either as a career where you get paid to do it, or as part of your profession where you're explaining things to other people, it could be in a sales presentation or in a client summary or review, or within a community. Let's say that you're proposing new legislation, or you want to bring a neighborhood together to actually make something happen. You may need to speak in public. But the idea of saying, ooh, just give me a tip and I'm going to be successful at that, tips are generally the small part. And I have many of them, but let's talk about the big part first. And the big parts are this. Number one, you've got to keep your focus and your attention and your interest on the audience. It's not about you.
Right.
It's not about what you know. It's not about how famous you are. It's not about what skill you have. It's not even about the recommendation that you want to propose. It's about the other people who are listening. You could call them your audience. What do they need? What do they want? What do they care about? What do they hope to achieve? What are they afraid of and they want to avoid? The more you keep your attention on them, the better your presentation is going to be and the less nervous you will be as well. So sometimes even I meet very experienced speakers and they say, I still get nervous. I still get butterflies before I present. And I say two things. Number one is, if you're nervous, it's because you care.
Right.
Just be sure that your care is about them, not caring about yourself. Like, how do I look? What will they think? Do I know my stuff? Stop thinking about you. You did all that in your preparation. Now, when it's time to speak, put your attention on them.
It's very practical thing you have shared, Ron, sir, that care for them, not care for ourselves, right? Sir, I'd like to add one thing that while facing a huge crowd, like thousands of people in front of, a speaker, how to deal with an anxiety on that, moment, right?
Well, I guess I'm just fortunate because I walk up on stage and there may be thousands of people there and it feels like me with them as one. So I'm coming out on stage like, hello, are you guys ready? Let's do this.
Right.
And I'm not trying to connect with 10,000 people. I'm trying to connect with the oneness that these 10,000 people are. Because if you have an audience, somehow they came together. For some reason, they got drawn to be there. Maybe it's a shared objective. Maybe it's a shared area of interest. Maybe it's a special event of some sort. But whatever it is that already brought them together, I'm talking to that. And so it's like one-to-one where it's me with what they share that they're interested in. So, if you meet one person, you can have a great dialogue with them. And that's how it feels to me, even though there may be 1,000 people in the audience.
That's really practical, sir. And sir, I was watching your videos on internet and I got to know that you have written a book upon customer, experience, like called Uplifting Service, and it is a best-selling book. So tell me something about that book so that our viewers can make the most of it, right?
Okay, so the book is called Uplifting Service. The subtitle is The Proven Path to Delighting Your Customers, Colleagues, and Everyone Else You Meet. So what's going on inside of a book with that title? I could have called it excellent service. I could have called it 5-star service. I could have called it anything. But uplifting service is for 3 reasons. Number 1, whoever you're serving, you want to give them an experience where they feel like, they've been uplifted. They've been taken care of. But I also want the service provider to feel uplifted because they know that the service they provided was well received. So, there's that sense of dignity and pride. You feel good. The third reason is because many people hear the word service and they think it's a subservient job. Like it's below them, it's beneath them, it's for somebody, no, I'm a professional. Other people should serve me. I'm saying, no. Service is taking action to create value for people. That's what doctors do. That's what lawyers do. That's what politicians should do. All of us are in service. Now, when I say the proven path, it's because in that book is the framework for accomplishing 2 things. Number 1, continuous service improvement. Always doing a better job for your customers, but also for your colleagues inside the organization. The proven path to delighting your customers, colleagues, and everyone else you meet. So even if you meet somebody in the neighborhood or you just pass by them on the train or you bought a cup of coffee from them, there's a way that you could interact with other people that actually leaves them feeling better, delighting your customers, colleagues, and everyone else you meet. But if you want to do that sustainably, you need more than service improvement. Then you need to build a service culture. And inside that book are both. Here's the tool set and the skill set that you can build to continuously improve your service, but also here's the framework. Here's the architecture. Here's the implementation roadmap to build a culture of service in a school, in a company, in a government organization, in a volunteer organization, so that everyone is always interested in and focusing on improving service to others.
And sir, it is very amazing book because the title you have chosen is very unique, and it is it actually intrigued a lot of people to know about that book. And because sir, you are a phenomenal and renowned speaker, I'd like to ask you that that a young person like whose age is 19 to 25, and who are generally our viewers, what are your insights for young speakers, that how to be a young professional speaker, and what are the 5 important qualities that a speaker should incorporate in his speaking journey,
Sure. Well, I'm not sure we're going to get to 5, but let's get started. Okay. Remember I said, let's not look for tips. Let's look for fundamentals. And fundamental 1 was, it's about the audience. What do they want? What do they need? What do they hope to achieve? How can you serve them? Not about you. Second, do you know what the heck you're talking about? Okay, before we start talking about your presentation skills and how you use your slides and modulate your voice, sometimes use a whisper, right? Before we start talking about the presentation style, let's talk about your domain expertise. Have you done your homework? Do you know what's going on in the field? Have you actually paid attention to other speakers in the field? Are you just sharing information that other people do? Or have you actually put some original thought into what it is that you want to say? You can't fake that. And you can't get it just by following a tip. You've got to do the homework. You've got to develop what I call domain expertise. Why should I listen to you? Then you can look at, okay, I've got domain expertise. Do I also have presentation skills? And presentation skills can be in many different ways. It can be up on a stage with a microphone. It could be in a webinar like this. It could be in a very small workshop. You might even find yourself in a situation where you're on an audio call and you can't see them and they can't see you. That's still a form of public speaking. Clear? So there's a whole range there. Let's call that presentation and platform skills that somebody who's young, who wants to put speaking into their repertoire, they want to become good at it. You should be thinking about, who is it that I'm serving? It's about them, not about you. Do I know what I'm talking about? Have I developed sufficient domain expertise? And then do I have the presentation and platform skills? And in all 3 of those areas, you can work and you can learn.
So, Ron sir, what are your advice for improving or enhancing presentation skill so that we can present better as a speaker?
Number 1 is record your presentations. Get somebody, even if it's just with a phone, to record you and then watch it. This morning over breakfast, I sat and I watched and listened to a 1-hour interview that someone else like you, but they were in Australia, interviewed me. Then he took the interview and he gave it to his team of editors, and they made it very nice with graphics and this and that. And it was a very good interview. They had excellent questions. I had really good answers. But you know what I noticed?
What?
Every once in a while, slipping out of my mouth would be the phrase, you know, da, 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 you know, and that's called a verbal tick. A verbal tick is like when someone says,
words, right?
or sometimes when people go, you know, like, I mean, it's like, you know, it's like, and that's a verbal tick.
Verbal tick, right?
So is, you know, and I had no idea I was doing it. So I listened to and watched it. And now I hope, at least in this interview after breakfast, that I'm using it less.
So that's how, yeah. So that's how a speaker can notice that what I'm repeating, how I'm performing while recording, right? After recording, saying that.
That's one way. The other way, of course, is to ask other people to give you absolutely candid feedback. Get your friends in the audience and say, listen, I want you to do several things for me if you don't mind. Is be there for my speech. And every time there's a moment where you go, oh, that was great. Explain, you know, just catch the time point. Every time there was a moment where you felt like I lost the audience, or what I said wasn't clear, or I repeated myself, or I seemed to lose my train of thought, mark down the time. And then afterwards, when you go back and watch it and listen to it, it's not just your own opinion, but you're going to be able to study the points that other people said were great. Why was it great? How do you do it again? Right? How do you do it slightly differently and have both of them be great? But also, where did I, drop the ball?
Ron sir, prior to our podcast, I uploaded a story on my Instagram account, you know, and lot of people, you know, asked that what is the journey of Mr. Ron Kaufman. So a lot of people wants to know your journey as a speaker. That how did you start it, and how you became author, speaker, trainer, mentor, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was extremely fortunate. You know, I had a grandmother who just basically thought I was the world's greatest grandson. And she gave all kinds of love and encouragement to whatever it is I wanted to do, which included being a little bit of an out loud kid. I wasn't very quiet when I was a child. You know, my mother used to call me rambunctious Ronnie, right? And my grandmother said, and that's good. So, okay, I kept doing it. Right. And then when I went into high school, I got very involved in the sport of ultimate frisbee. And as the teams that I helped to start or create became tournaments, became festivals, became championships, I was one of the people who knew what was going on. I knew the names of the people who were on the field. I knew that the people who came to watch wanted to know what was going on. And so it was natural for me to take the microphone. And so my speaking career actually began at Frisbee events, where I was the one explaining to the audience what's going on, what to look for. Why was that great? What's the challenge? You know, etc. So from that, by the way, I just listened to myself say, you know. Right. So that's where the speaking began. And then when I came to Singapore 34 years ago to help improve service in the whole nation, I came originally as a trainer. But in a workshop where you're doing training, you have to present. Right. And if you're presenting a lot of workshops, you start to get good at it. And then I was invited to give a speech at a conference with more than 1,000 people. And it was my first 1 hour nonstop. You're going to give a speech, not a workshop with 25 people in the room. And I thought to myself, how do I do this? And what I did was I took all the little stories that I had in the workshop that lasted all day, and I strung them together. I thought through, how will I tell this story, and then let that go to this story, and then go to this story with, of course, lessons at each point. Right. And that became my very first keynote speech. And that was a blast. It's funny. Okay, this one's a tip. It was a blast. And I was nervous. I knew it was about the audience, not about me. But come on, this was my first big speech. I was nervous. So backstage, while the person before me was finishing up their speech, and they had not yet introduced me, I was waiting backstage. I had my headphones in. This was back in the era where if you wanted to listen to music, there was no iPhone, there was no iPod. Right. It was a Walkman with a cassette. And I was listening to Elton John singing Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting. And I'm going,
Yeah.
So by the time they called me up on stage, woo, I was ready to go. That's a tip.
Interesting.
Right? Get yourself in an energetic, upbeat, positive mood. So when you walk out on stage, people can only feel that, okay, this is going to be a good one. Let's pay attention.
Ron sir, it was very interesting story of you have also, you know, confronted an anxiety, nervousness, and actually you usually every speaker faces this, and actually they rise from all these problems or stuff, whatever they feel, right? Ron sir, I'd like to ask you about leadership. That you have mentored thousands of companies. So what are your advices for leadership? That how to be a good leader and how vulnerability helps a leader and how they cultivate, well, you know, vulnerability into their communication without affecting their authority. So your advices on.
Well, remember, my specialty, my area of focus is service
Customer.
improvement and service culture. Okay, those two things, service improvement, service culture. And if you're the leader, if all you do is say, okay, give people our training programs, they will learn a certain amount and they may apply it. And if you reward them and you recognize them, etc. But the moment the leader behaves in a way that is contrary to what it is that they've been trained to do, or what it is you say in your speech is important that we do, if the behavior of the leader is not aligned with that, they all know it's a fake. They all know it's just, yeah, that's what they want us to do. But that leader doesn't role model it. That leader doesn't really believe it. That leader doesn't. And that's dangerous for the organization, because then you can end up wasting all of your effort on communications and recognition and training programs. You need the leaders to get very clear themselves first. What kind of behavior do we want our people to demonstrate for our customers or internally for each other? And then they have to do the thinking and say, well, what does that look like at my level? How do I actually need to behave to role model that behavior? Now, at the same time, you're human. So what do you do if at some point the leader, and oh my God, I just behaved absolutely contrary to what I want my people to do? Well, then you be honest. You say, hey, guys, I got to talk to you. I just need to fess up here, right? I'm human too. Made a mistake. I'm sorry about that. But I want you to know I recognize it. And I'm recommitting here. And if something happens where you see it with me again, please help me. And I'll do the same with you. Then you're a much more accessible, real, authentic being.
That's a very practical thing you have shared from your own experience, because you are also a leader of your company, right? And you handle all stuffs, your works, your clients, everything. So Ron sir, as you are a customer experience coach, there is a question which actually asked every day on YouTube. Millions of people ask that how to retain our customer. So what are your advices that is a customer can be retained or they cannot be retained? What do you think?
Of course they can. It's a very good question. In the old days, Ronak, we used to say that all you needed to do to have a loyal customer was to have a satisfied customer. If you satisfy the customer, they'll become a loyal customer. That's not true today. Because today there are so many options available for our customers. So you might satisfy them, but if that's all you do and another company comes along and says, we can satisfy you too, they might just go ahead and jump and give that other company a try.
Right.
So you've got to do more than just satisfy in the moment. In today's world, you need to demonstrate to your customers that you're going to satisfy them now, but you're also. So I'm going to pause here and give you an example. I'm pretty sure that the question you asked me just now, I answered it pretty well.
So Ron sir, moving towards our last question as we are approaching to the end of podcast, right? So what are your advices for a new customer experience coaches, as you are established, distinguished coach? So what are your advices for young coaches who are actually becoming a coach, right?
Yeah. Learn everything you can about your customers. Find out what it is that they expect. What is it that they like? What is it that they don't like? What is it that really bothers them? What is it that they would love, but nobody's doing it for them? What problems do they have? What challenges are they facing? What do they need? If you become a real expert in your customer, it becomes a lot easier to then develop expertise in customer experience. But if you start from the other side, like, ooh, I made a product, ooh, I designed a technology, ooh, I've got a marketing plan, ooh, I've got an idea, and I want to push it out to my customers, it's not an easy place to start from if where you want to end up is producing and delivering an outstanding customer experience.
Right. That's very practical tip you have shared. Actually, it is not a tip, it is from your experience you have shared that. That's how we can learn from customer, learn about customer, and learn from customer, and we can be a amazing coach. And I'd like to finish our podcast with one thing, which is you are a leading customer experience coach, and you have trained a lot of companies. You are a sales trainer. So do you have any idea about sales? That lot of people, a lot of interviewer ask in the interview that sell me this pen. So how do you answer if you would be on that place, right?
Well, like I said, I would start with, tell me what you pen for. And are you using it all the time? Is it specifically for work? What you're writing down, what kind of a surface do you tend to write on? Do you share what you write with other people? Are you doing this as a rough draft? Do you like to use color? Are you writing on a flip chart? Or are you know, boom, 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 sell me this pen. I'm not going to sell you anything until I first understand what it is that you want to buy. Clear? And what you want to buy is not a pen. What you want to buy is handwriting on my paper. What you want to buy is a signed contract. What you want to buy is notes next to the bed at night. And so you need a pen that has a light in it. What you want to buy is something that you can write upside down in space. And so you need a special kind of pen that will be able to push the ink up to the ball without gravity, et cetera, et cetera. I want to know about the customer. Then when I know about the customer, then I can say, okay, I think I've got something here that can provide you with the value that you want and you need. Can I tell you about it? Sure. Right. Well, since you said, give it a try, sure.
Very practical thing. And it is actually unique thing you have shared that you are not buying pen, you are buying writing, you are buying notes. And because of that, you need a pen, right? That's amazing thing. And sir, I have noticed throughout the podcast that you have excellent grip upon communication. I mean, you are an excellent communication coach. So what are your advices for communication? How to make our communication better, right?
Of course, there are many content suggestions, points about what you're communicating. But I want to say something else. I've spent so much time in so many different cultures around the world that I've learned the importance of clear articulation. It's absolutely vital that you pronounce, you articulate in a manner that someone for whom it may not be their native language, or their hearing may not be as good, or the environment may be quite loud and distracting, then it can be extremely helpful to ensure that what you say, the way you are saying it,
right,
not just the way you're making the case or pitching the proposal or explaining the answer, it's actually in the mouth, it's in the articulation. And I think you can tell that from the way I've been answering your questions today.
Right. It is an important thing you have shared that what I'm trying to deliver. And sir, and I hope that viewers have enjoyed our podcast and they have learned 3-4 topics, whatever I have discussed about customer experience, your book, and communication, public speaking, especially. You have shared amazing thing about your story as well. So that's an incredible time with you, Ron, sir. So thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you. And thank you, Ronak. I'd like to say to all of your viewers that if you enjoy this podcast, help Ronak reach other people by leaving a comment or a like or sharing it with others. And if you'd like to know more about what I do, you can find me online. My URL for the website is my name, ronkaufman.com, RONKAUFMAN.com. And of course, if you type that into YouTube, you'll find me there too.
That is very, you are actually very accessible, and viewers can easily access you through typing your name on YouTube, on your website. So viewers, you guys can, and one more thing I'd like to say, that you must go for his book Uplifting Service, which is an amazing book full of practical insights. So thank you so much, sir, for joining us. Thank you. See you soon.
Perfect. Thank you, Ronak. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you, sir.